Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. It's Dr. Levi with your show, The Dr. Levi Show. Today is Wednesday, September the 7th, 2016, here in beautiful Los Angeles. So I hope wherever you are today, you're making it a great day and having a great day. Remember, you take greatness wherever you are. So take a spirit of happiness, joy, peace, and of course, my favorite word above all words, gratitude. Live in that place of gratitude and understanding that when you wake up, there's a purpose for that. When you wake up, there's a purpose for you, and that no one's better than anyone else. We're all here to serve a greater purpose, and that is to do the right thing, to help people, and to know and understand that as we share with other people, we learn, we grow, we become better human beings. So, with that said, I want to tell you about the show today. We have Mr. Rudy Contreras on the show. I'll tell you about his organization, which has been around since 1979, which is really about helping individuals with disabilities. And I think what they do in a community, and more importantly, what they do with respect to increasing the consciousness and understanding about how important it is to help individuals with disabilities, but more importantly, to understand that people with disabilities are simply a reflection of ourselves. No one is better than anyone else. So I think his message is powerful. He's the executive director of the Southern California Resources Center for Independent Living, but more importantly, he's about making a difference. His life as a Marine and now as executive director, he really is someone who is clear that you don't sit around and look for change. You be the nidus. You be the change that you want to be. It's what Gandhi said. Be the change that you want to see in the world. And Rudy Contreras is absolutely about that. So I'm going to have him come on shortly. But before he does come on, I want to address a few things that came through via email, and that is some thoughts about my thoughts, I should say, about what are the more common things I see with gamers with respect to their injuries, as well as to talk about osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. So let's go through this really, really briefly. I want to bring on Mr. Contreras, so we have a lot to talk about today. So for gamers, individuals who play a lot of League of Legends, Call of Duty, OSU, StarCraft, I can go on. All those games, the major things that I see, of course, are tendonitis in the hands and the wrist, elbows, neck pain, back pain. So, again, the videos on YouTube are there to help you. Everything is constructed to help you to get better, to be well, and more importantly, to prevent these types of injuries. That's the whole deal. If you play a lot of games, for example, if you're gaming 6 to 8 hours a day, then, as I've said before, take the 5-minute break every hour to do your strengthening and stretching exercises. Put your hands in warm water. But more importantly, if you have pain, pain is the way that the body is telling you, hey, stop, back off. Don't do this as much, because if you do, I'm going to make you hurt. I'm going to make you have pain. So if you have that discomfort, then listen to your body and do the right thing. All right? So take a break. Now, with respect to osteoarthritis, let's go through this one last time briefly. Osteoarthritis is very different from rheumatoid arthritis. Osteoarthritis is basically called the wear and tear form of arthritis, meaning that if you do something repetitively, for example, you may wear out the cartilage interval between the joints. Meaning now, if you wear that out, then you have bone articulating with bone. So what are the symptomologies of osteoarthritis? Well, very simple. People often have pain, swelling, crepitus, which is a sound of cracking in their joints when they wake up. And sometimes they'll have more pain in the morning than in the afternoon. And sometimes just the opposite. They'll have less pain in the morning, but it becomes progressively more intense as they work, as they walk, as they do things throughout the day. Now, how do we treat it? Well, osteoarthritis is generally treated with, after complete physical examination and x-rays or radiographs, we treat that with rest, with anti-inflammatory medication, with bracing, with physical therapy, with acupuncture, and sometimes even with surgery, which is joint replacement surgery. Replacement of the hip, the knee, the shoulders, the ankle, and even the fingers of the joints of the hand. We can replace those also. Done more commonly with someone who has rheumatoid arthritis. Now, one thing I want to say about arthritis also, osteoarthritis, is it's important that you watch your diet, that you're mindful that you are what you eat, drink, and smoke and snort. So don't snort anything, don't smoke anything, drink less alcohol, eat properly, and know that your body is this great, wonderful instrument that loves to be healthy. It loves being healthy. So it can only have that on your cellular level if you give it the right foods and the right drink, meaning more water, eating less high dense carbohydrates like white rice and white pasta and sugar and salt and soy. Those things you already know, they're not good for us. You don't feel good after you eat them. So be mindful of your diet, but more importantly, exercise every day. Take 20 to 45 minutes every day to honor your body. It's the only one you'll ever get. So why not be true to it? Why not do what you can to keep it healthy, to stave off diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, the number one killer of men and women in America, as well as stroke? These are things that you can do to really keep those things away. You want to be healthy, so be mindful of your body. Let's talk briefly about rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease, and it's on the spectrum of there's rheumatoid, there's lupus, SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus, and there's a whole variety of other types of immunosuppressive type diseases, I should say immunodisorders. Well, how do we treat rheumatoid arthritis? Well, again, after it's properly diagnosed, we treat that with therapy, with bracing, with medication. And the medicines for this is very interesting now because before, rheumatoid was actually treated with something called methotrexate or even gold. Now those drugs are still available. However, we're also treating lupus as well as rheumatoid with chemotherapeutic agents, things that we use to treat different forms of cancer or leukemia or lymphoma. That's what I wanted to say. Those three types of things. We also treat those with chemotherapeutic agents, which are also very effective for rheumatoid arthritis also. So with that said, the bottom line is minimize inflammatory foods in your diet, exercise properly, minimize smoking, minimize drinking, and do what you can to honor your body. So that's our fitness and health minute. Maybe it's like 5 or 7 actually. So I hope that helps. Now I want to introduce you to Mr. Rudy Contreras right now. He will tell us about his organization, and then we'll talk to him about his life and his childhood and what brought him from where he was to where he is today as executive director. So welcome, Rudy. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, Dr. Levi. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're so happy to have you on the show. I want to talk about the organization, of course. But I also want to talk about you. Let's talk about your childhood. Where are you from? How long have you been in Los Angeles?
I was born and raised in Los Angeles County.
Fantastic.
So
A true Angelino.
All my whole life.
Wow.
So I was born in East LA.
Yes.
And I actually grew up in the city of La Puente. That's where near Bassett, City of Industry area. So,
I know what La Puente is. One of my favorite restaurants there called La Poblana is there. They have great mole there, great everything. It's one of my favorite places.
They have a lot of real good food there.
They really do. Trust me. I've been there too often. So you lived in Puente, and then you moved here to greater Los Angeles area, or you've been there the whole time?
Well, that's where I grew up. Basically, since I was 4 years old until I graduated high school.
Fantastic.
I grew up in La Puente.
Well, what brought you to this point in your life now? You're with this organization. Tell us about the organization, too, because they've been around since 1979.
Yeah, so the organization, Southern California Resource Services for Independent Living. It's a long name, so we go by SCRS.
Yes, I think that's easier.
It's a lot easier.
I agree.
It's easier for me when I get to
it's
say
easy
it,
for me, too.
But, we've been around since 1979.
Yes.
We are one of the 28 independent living centers in the state of California.
Right.
So what we are state and federally funded.
Yes.
And our sole purpose is to serve people with disabilities, to provide them with the skills, the resources needed to live independent lives.
Yes. So you actually help them not only with housing, but also with getting gainful employment.
We do. We help them with so many different things. We have benefits.
Yes.
So if an individual needs CalFresh, needs their SSI, SSDI,
yes.
we have a benefits specialist that can assist them with that. We also have several health and wellness programs. One of our programs that's been expanding throughout the city of Downey, Norwalk, Alhambra is our yoga class.
Fantastic.
And our yoga instructor, her name's Maria Arok, and she actually is a yoga certified instructor that's in a chair. So
Really?
She's fully certified. She's in a chair. So it helps when she's teaching individuals that never thought they could do yoga because they're in a wheelchair.
Absolutely.
So her class is just beautiful to watch.
And tell me this, what are the more common types of disabilities that you see in the demographic that you treat and help?
I think there's such a variety of disabilities that we see, but what I'm noticing the majority of individuals that would come in, it's more of an acquired disability.
Yes.
So individuals that have had an accident or even been involved in a shooting.
Yes.
And that caused them to go into a chair.
Right.
We do have a larger population forming in the city of Downey with individuals that are blind. So there's a great need for blind services.
Absolutely.
We're also branching out more now into the developmental disabilities. So these are individuals born with a disability.
Yes.
So that's when you have the autism spectrum, people with Down syndrome, and various other disabilities.
One thing I think is really great about Southern California Resource Center for Independent Living is the fact that there's no judgment there. It seems to be a place where if you have an issue, no matter if you define or if society defines it for you, that you're welcome there, that there's a place where you can call home, that you will be included, and that it's a place of inclusivity.
It's a judgment-free zone. And when any individual walks in that door,
yes,
we don't stare at them and look at their disability.
Right.
We talk with them and open the door for all of the abilities and what they can bring.
Absolutely.
And it's about empowerment.
Yes, yes. And empowerment, you've been about that your whole life because you were a Marine. You were Semper Fi.
Hoorah.
Yes, you were there. So you were how many years in the service in Marine?
I was in the Marine Corps about 4.5 years.
Great. What was that experience like?
It was a struggle first to even get in because I was 17 years old.
Yes.
So I needed parent permission.
Correct.
And this was all right before. So this was in 1998. So this was actually before 9/11.
Right.
And my father is a Vietnam veteran. He's a decorated Vietnam veteran.
It's fantastic.
So he knew the consequence of going in during peacetime because, as we all know, peacetime ends.
Yes, it does.
And I still went.
And what was your drive? Was your drive because you wanted to, for example, make your father proud of you? Was your drive internally, like you wanted to make a difference yourself? What pushed you to do that? Because being a part of the armed services, you give up a lot of independence. You give up a lot of freedom. You have to go where they say go, do what they say do. Your life is really encapsulated and changed dramatically.
It is. You go through a complete culture shock.
Right.
And the driving force for me, I always share my story of I was a 7-year-old kid at the beach in Seal Beach in San Diego, Mission Bay in San Diego.
Yes.
And I remember looking off to the ocean, and I see these people rappelling into the water.
Yes.
And I turned to my mother and I asked her, "Who is that?"
Right.
And my mom looks at me and says, "Mijo, those are the Marines.
Right.
They help people."
Right.
That vision stuck in my head my entire life.
It's pretty amazing.
And when I knew I want independence, I want to do it on my own, I want to help people, I want to be a difference.
Yes.
There was only one service.
Right.
And it had to be the best of the best. So it was the Marine Corps.
It was a very powerful statement you just made. You said, I love that statement you just made. You said, I wanted to be a difference, not to make a difference, but to be a difference. And I think that's the very, I think that is the driving essence that makes the difference between someone who says they're going to do something, versus someone who becomes it and then actually does it, bring it to fruition. Pretty phenomenal statement.
No, thank you.
Be the difference.
I try, and I do it, and it's about being innovative.
Yes.
We see what programs have been developed for people with disabilities throughout the years.
Right.
We've been involved in this independent living movement for over 40 years.
And it is a movement. It really is.
It is a movement, but for so long it's remained stagnant.
Right.
And in that stagnation, people have lost that innovation.
And why do you think it was stagnant? What do you think was the precipitous to have it just sit and not move forward?
I think people got comfortable.
Right.
I think we saw progress and it stopped there, thinking that was enough.
So you think that maybe with the American Disabilities Act, after that came through, it's like, okay, well, we can put everything on hold. That'll protect everyone.
Right. And that was just the first step.
Yes.
And if people would have used that as leverage, this is our moment to now push forward.
Right. A launching pad.
Exactly. It was the platform.
Right.
But it wasn't used to that advantage.
Right.
And here we are now. Even the American Disabilities Act needs to be revised because it was the language in there is not updated.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
what about this? When you're there at work, what keeps you driving forward to be a part of this movement and a part of this mission? Because you don't have any visible disabilities, but what keeps you in this focused light to say, you know what, I want to give up so much of my life, and which you're doing that right now, your life to be a part of this organization. What drives you to do that?
So the driving force is actually, it goes back to my military service.
Yes.
So I was in the Marine Corps. I was actually a part of the School of Infantry, the Advanced Infantry Training Battalion.
Yes.
I was a troop leader. I was the guy that yelled at everybody before. I would basically do the combat training. And
so you yelled at people like my manager Janet yells at me. I got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
But it was for their own good.
Right. That's what she tells me too. That's exactly what she tells me. Yes. Okay.
It was all,
fantastic. Right.
So, it was the combat training portion.
Yes.
And then Marines started going. 9/11 happened. We were all put on high alert.
What was it like that day for you, 9/11? I want to hear the spectrum of emotions that you had on 9/11 when you got the word that this had happened, and you were an actual Marine at the time. I want to hear about your feelings internally, not just the ones around you. I don't want to hear about the people around you because we don't have them here. I want to hear how you felt internally when that hit you, that this extraordinary, really universal changing event for us in America, as actually for the world, happened. What was in your heart and mind?
For me, I was actually off base in La Puente.
Were you really? You were here in California?
I was in California when this
Wow.
happened. And once it happened, I didn't know until I got called from my company commander.
Right.
He called and said, you need to report back to the School of Infantry immediately.
Right.
So went back. Camp Pendleton was on full lockdown.
Of course.
They sent Marines to the domes there on San Onofre because
Yes.
it was the nuclear.
Of course.
So when I was one of the Marines, I had to go out there. Basically, you're pointing your M16 at the middle of the ocean because you don't know what's coming.
Right.
So there was no time to absorb what happened until they pulled us back off, and then they gave us our briefings. This is what's happening.
Right.
This is what's going to happen next.
Yes.
And this is what we're going to tell the media next.
Yes.
So
what were you feeling like internally? Did you feel like a personal assault? Did you feel like what's happening to my country? Or did you feel like, what can I do to make it better? I mean, I want to hear about your internal thinking.
it was really, it was a terrible feeling.
Yes.
Because when you're part of the service, when you're in the military and it happens, it's almost as if it happened on your watch.
Of course. Right.
And you wonder why. What did we not do?
Right. To stop that.
Or prevent it.
Yes.
And at that point, it was just like, what can we do now to fix it?
Yes.
And it was going into just that mode. Okay, we can fix it.
Right.
Because we knew that the people were in fear. And it was everywhere. It wasn't just in New York. People were in fear all over.
The world.
They would start staring at other people differently.
Right.
And we had to change it. We had to fix it. So it was almost a feeling of it's my fault. In some way, I played a role in this.
Right.
But we were able to rectify a lot of it.
Oh, absolutely. When I think about that, as I've said on this show many, many times, there are a few things I think about every day for just a few seconds will come into my head. One is 9/11. Either someone will say something or that every day I'll think about that. And the other one is Sandy Hook, when all those kids were murdered.
Right.
And now there have been other, from Orlando, and we've gone with countless massacres that have occurred, that I still have heartfelt feelings about them. But 9/11 and Sandy Hook, for some reason, those two, I have not been able to not brush off, but even just kind of contain emotions about, because they're so visceral. Because that day was so surreal to me. Even now, I can't, when I can picture the towers falling and hearing people jump off buildings, it still feels like a movie. Does that make sense?
It does. Once we started looking at the video footage, it's almost as if they played it over and over for us just so we could replay it even in our dreams.
Right.
Because our purpose changed.
Tremendously.
It was no longer just protecting your home. It was now going into another country.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a devastating day. Even now, I still think that I have what I call some post-traumatic stress about that whole issue. I don't think that's ever really. People say they can shake stuff off. That one, not yet. Still working on that. How does your faith play a role in what you do?
So, what happened was after the 9/11 incident.
Yes.
Originally, I was training about 30 Marines.
Right.
At a time.
In your infantry.
For the infantry training battalion.
Yes.
And then after 9/11, those numbers jumped to 80. So every platoon now had 80 Marines.
So these were new recruits that
New
joined in
recruits
because they felt the need to be of
Yes.
service.
9/11
Wow.
put a huge surplus in our enlistment.
Really?
And it was interesting because the Marine Corps has always been the smallest branch.
Always.
We are the
Always.
smallest.
Yes.
But we're still the first to go.
Yeah, exactly right. The most elite. Exactly.
So there's first to go, last to know.
Yes. Yes.
So-
Yes. Right.
So these platoons grew larger and larger. So I would train the Marines, and then Marines would start deploying. And they were going out. As months passed, all of a sudden Marines started coming back.
Yes.
The difference was Marines were coming back without limbs.
Right.
Marines were coming back with disabilities.
Right.
And Marines were coming back in caskets.
Mm.
You know, the sad reality of war.
Yeah.
And
It is a sad reality.
it was. Yeah. And what I noticed was that the Marines, yes, they would get their disability. They would get, if a Marine passed away, they would get their SGLI, which is like the life insurance and
Yes.
all of that.
Yes.
But the resources stopped.
Right.
You know, they would say, oh, you can go to the VA or go to here. But there was nothing about how to reintegrate back into your society.
Exactly. Or into themselves.
Exactly. That whole transition from being a full, an individual that doesn't have a disability, going into combat and then coming back, and now you have a disability, right. And now you're being kicked out of a service.
Right.
That's all you know.
Exactly.
Because that's the first job you've ever had since
Right.
leaving high school.
Right.
And you're basically told you're done.
Right. Good luck.
Exactly. After that, I was, because I couldn't just get out, so I had to keep waiting.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I eventually did the funeral detail. I took
It had
part,
to be very rough.
I took part in 30 funeral details.
Wow.
Every one of those Marines, I came back, buried them, folded the flag, 21 gun salute. I knew every one of them.
Oof.
I, to this day, carry with me 30 dog tags
Oof.
that remind me of who they are.
Right.
So when you say, where's that drive come from?
Yes.
That's where it came from.
Oh, I can see that.
So it never stopped.
Right.
Once I got out, it was, I immediately knew what I had to do.
Right.
I had to make a difference, and I had to dedicate my life to people with disabilities. Right. You know, some people try to separate, well, it's a veteran with a disability, but that veteran is a person.
Yes, he is.
And we're
he
people
or she
first.
is.
He
yes.
or she is. You know, people first.
Right.
And it's not about just serving veterans. It's about serving people and leveling the platform, right. Showing them not what society tells them they can't do, but showing them everything that they can and will do.
Exactly. You know, one thing I really love about your organization, Southern California Resource Center for Independent Living, is the fact that you don't simply address the seen disability, you know, the missing limb or the blindness or the lack of hearing. You address the person as a person, because they may have that seeable disability, but also internally, you don't know what's going on with respect to post-traumatic stress, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia. A lot of changes come back with that person when they're back. Mm-hmm. So often they may go as a whole person. They may come back with that seeable disability, but the things you can't see are even more powerful because they can also direct their lives. And I think what your organization does can keep that person on the forefront of being the best whom they can be.
Exactly. And it's about being the best you possible.
Yes.
There's no comparing your best to another.
No. It's you with you.
It is. You know, and earlier in the show you mentioned about the vocational program.
Absolutely.
We are one of the most successful organizations that places people through Department of Rehabilitation into full-time, high-paying jobs. Right. You know, a lot of that success, I have to always tip my hat to our deputy director, Mario Galdamez. Right. He is on nonstop.
That's fantastic.
You know, and his team of job developers, the relationship they have with business partners, it's special.
Right.
And they open their doors, but they're doing more than that. They're opening their communities.
Right. And they're opening everyone's heart to accept and love these veterans. These men and women are invaluable. They serve such a place of essential goodness for society.
Yes.
You know, the other thing about veterans that I've always thought is that I've always found it so odd that these men and women go away, they sacrifice their minds, their body parts, their families, their relationships, and even more. And they come back here, and I will see them sleeping under a bridge or standing by the freeway with a sign or standing outside the market, with the cardboard sign saying, need food, need money. I've always felt, and I've said this on the show many, many times, that I think the men and women who are veterans who have served this country deserve so much more. They deserve better. They deserve respect. They deserve love. They deserve to be treated with humanity as well as humility. And I think so often we as a country, we forsake them. And then when they come back, we forsake them again. Does that make sense? I always call it the double sacrifice. I hate saying it like that, but that's where I've in my mind, that's the way I see it.
It is. And there's so much more happening with veterans as well. One of our supporters with our Independent Living Center is now the American GI Forum.
Yes.
And they shared an issue that I had no idea was happening. And veterans, combat veterans, went to fight for our flag, our country, our people,
right,
came back home, and were deported.
Can you even fathom that?
I don't understand it.
Oh, of course not. Not.
People that bled for this country.
All right. And died
for this country.
All right.
They were deported. And the American GI Forum sends care packages to the border of Mexico so they can have food. And as the forum is trying to work with them to get their citizenship, which is something that should have happened while in service.
Yes.
So someone dropped the ball.
Right.
And because of that.
Right. Now they're going to suffer.
Yes.
Well, how is that fair to them and their families?
Exactly.
That is, I can't even, there are no words for that. Now I want to ask you again is, how does your faith play a role in what you do?
Well, if religious faith, if we're going into religion.
Faith, however you want to define it.
Honestly, for me, I have faith in humanity.
Yes.
If I didn't believe in them, if I didn't believe in our ability to overcome.
Yes.
And become resilient, I would have never served.
Of course not.
So my belief in humanity and people's ability to learn, to change.
Right.
That's what drives.
Right.
Because I know it's been a 40-year movement, and we haven't gotten to where we need to be, but we're going to get there.
Oh, of course.
And I feel that now, with myself playing a more active role in it, I'm going to help. I'm going to be a part of it.
Right. Well, you are part of it.
Yeah.
You're an essential, active part of it. I mean, you're doing the work. We live in Los Angeles. We live in California specifically, where as well as I do, people do a lot of talk. But it's never about what they say. It's always about what they do and about the quality of their character. Do they keep their word? Do they show up? Do they do the right thing when no one's watching? Those are things that really matter. And you're making a difference.
No, thank you. And I've been the executive director since January 3rd of this year.
Right.
I can remember going to my first staff meeting and telling everyone sitting down, this is what we're going to do. This, that. We're going to embark on this. And I can remember looking across the table and just seeing there's another one.
Another one. They just going to make a difference.
Right. And then all of a sudden, here we go months later. And it's not that we're going to do this and this. It's that we're doing this and this. And I think that's what everyone is seeing.
Right.
And when I talk, it's the passion, because I'm not going to stop.
You can't.
I can't stop.
Oh, yeah.
I fear stopping.
Right.
Because if I stop, what if something happens? Who else is going to make up?
Who's going to make up for you? Exactly. And is anyone going to step up with the same passion and drive and enthusiasm that you have? They may do it, but will they be as invested as you are? Being a veteran, you know the deal. It's real.
Right.
It's not a joke. When you've served, when you've given so much, it is the real deal. So I think you are the eyes, the ears, the hands, and the feet of those who've lost all those body parts and lost those senses. I mean, you are the person who has the bigger heart now to help those who maybe have congestive heart failure, you have heart disease. You are all of those things that will make Southern California Resource Center for Independent Living an even better organization for making this movement sustainable. It's one thing to have a movement. You can have a movement. A lot of movements out right now. Let's see where they are 5 years from now, 5 months from now, 10 years from now. Your organization, again, has been around since 1979. So you're thinking 36 years. With that said, actually 37 years now. 37. So if you're a part of it, there's a high likelihood and probability to be around for another 37 or 80 plus more years, because of the legacy of passion that you've put today will embolden other people to do the same thing.
I definitely believe that, and I've told my board of directors,
right,
I'm giving you at least 30 years.
Right.
So I have 30 years to make real change happen.
Absolutely.
And I hope that it takes less than that.
Right.
But I have an amazing team.
Yes.
Tell
me about your team. Who's on your team? I want to hear about some of them.
So we have an assistive technology department, and that's headed by Anna Rocha.
Yes.
And she brings years of experience and dedication and passion. Very passionate.
Really.
And very vocal about her passion.
That's good. That's good.
But if an individual needs some form of assistive technology, which is like a wheelchair, a walker, a cane, sometimes you have to go to your provider and it takes a couple weeks to get it.
Or months.
If you come to SCRS, you walk out that same day with it.
That's fantastic.
If we have it, you walk out with it. And I'll tell you, we have wheelchairs, we have walkers, we have canes, we have a lot of
assistive devices.
Assistive devices.
Yes.
And if we don't have it, we'll find a way to get it.
Right.
And then it's yours.
Right.
So that's our assistive technology department. We have an amazing youth transitions department.
Now tell me about that. What does that do exactly, that department?
So our youth transitions program, it's a new core service. And within this department, what it is, you're working with ages 14 to 26.
Yes.
And you're basically helping them explore post-secondary education.
Yes.
Providing them with it's almost like preventative action.
Yes.
So rather than waiting for them to graduate and be lost, you're now giving them the tools so when they graduate, they have a plan.
They have a plan. Right.
So we actually partnered with LAUSD and Whittier Union School District with under a grant called the California Promise Grant.
Okay.
And during this partnership, we basically provided training for independent living services to over 125 children with disabilities.
That's tremendous.
And the partnership, the collaboration with the school districts was just phenomenal. Natalie Marin, she's our youth transition coordinator, has a heart of gold. And, with the team that was supporting it, Sergio Pons, he's one of our peer counselors. Again, that heart, that passion, that desire to make a difference is there. Dave Estrella, he is our housing benefits individual, but he helped with the Cal Promise. He has a background in working with children, and he was able to apply it.
That's really wonderful. I have a quick question as you were saying that. Do you keep the statistics of what happens after they graduate with respect to their POA or their plan of action? Do you have statistics about who graduates, where they go, jobs that they get? Do you guys keep that?
So because this is a new core service that just started this year.
So brand new.
It's brand new. So basically where it's mandated now.
Right.
We do, it's pretty nice that so many of the consumers that we catch at an early age come to us in the latter years of life and continue to work with them to provide greater independence.
Absolutely.
Because we get individuals that we find them, maybe we find them housing or we get them in their benefits, and then they come back and they say, "Can I get a job?" I say, "Of course, anyone can."
Right.
And then we work with them.
Right. Well, one thing that the program seems to do also is it enables someone to make the steps to be independent. It's not the enabler whereby we're going to give you this, going to give you this, going to give you that. We're going to give you an action plan for your life to help you be a sustained, contributing human being to society.
Yes, and we call those independent living plans.
Yes.
So every individual that comes in through that door and does an independent living plan, it's basically step by step by step, with the ultimate goal of you will achieve independence if you follow this. Right. When I say, we provide them with resources and benefit counseling, peer counseling, assistive technology, it's not about just giving it to them.
Yes.
It's about showing them how to get it for themselves.
Of course.
One of the biggest barriers, of course, is accessible housing and affordable housing.
Right.
Well, first off, LA doesn't even have any housing.
That's a true
There's
statement.
nowhere to build.
That's a true
And,
statement.
you know, and then when you do find housing, it's not affordable. It's
Okay.
ridiculously high.
Yes.
But we have a great team dedicated to finding, you know, with connections and contacts through low-income housing units. If something becomes vacant, we know immediately, and then we can call an individual and say, hey, this is a lead. Go show up, take care of it.
Yes.
Because we don't go do it for them. We tell them this is the lead, this is the contact, there's the address, call them.
Well, they have to do it because I think when if you give someone, as my dad would say, if you give someone everything, they appreciate nothing.
Exactly.
So I think it's so important that you do just what you said is this is the lead. I give you this. Now you take it from there and make it happen.
No, definitely. And it reminds me of my dad.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you, we both had dads that were intense. Tell me about your father. What was he like? What kind of man was he? He's a vet. You said he's still with us. He's still here.
He is still with us.
Great.
Vietnam vet. Very old school parent.
Right. Disciplinarian.
A disciplinarian.
And he's a decorated veteran.
A decorated veteran.
Right.
You know, but he achieved a dream. And that was another thing that was so interesting. Our father, you know, went to Vietnam, came back, and he was a janitor.
Right.
You know, he met my mother through the Army. Then they had amazing children.
Right.
And he started at the bottom, you know, cleaning. And he developed a passion for electronics.
Yes.
He worked for Lear Siegler, McDonnell Douglas, to the point where he went back to school. He got his bachelor's from San Diego State, and then his master's from UCLA, his MBA.
Fantastic.
And one day he decided to create his own company.
Right.
And he did it. And I can remember the first years. It established, I believe, in like 1985, 80. It was early.
Yes.
And it was such a hard year. Right. You know, the year he launched the business, but it survived.
Right.
And then it grew and grew and grew. And every day growing up, all I remember my father always saying, education, education, education,
yes,
education.
Yes.
You know, and he stressed the importance, and he'd share his story of, I came from nothing to now having a multi-million-dollar corporation.
Exactly.
And even though he had all this money, he wouldn't give it to us.
Of course
But he
not.
would teach us how to get it for ourselves.
Absolutely.
And it was, get your education. If you get your education, you can do anything.
Absolutely.
But don't just let it be a piece of paper. Right. You have to apply it.
This is true.
So my older brother, he's a doctor. My older sister, she was working at USC at the School of Business. She has her MPA.
Yes.
And now she's at UC Riverside. Myself, I have my master's in psychology, and my little brother has an engineering degree.
Pretty amazing.
You know, 4 out of 4.
Yes.
And
that's a win.
It was. It is.
It is.
You know, and we came, and like I said, we grew up in La Puente. When I go back to La Puente,
right.
You know, I seldomly go back, but when I do, I remember and I see the people I grew up with.
Right.
And they're still there.
Right.
And they never left. You know, they have more ink on their arms or ink on their chest and their backs. And they have their kids now. And it's almost as if that cycle is repeating itself. And I always think back, what was the difference? Why is it that we left?
Right.
We didn't forget where we came from.
Of course not. We never forget.
But we dedicate our lives to ensuring that our family, our children will never go back to that.
Right. Have a different legacy.
Exactly.
What did your mother think about the success of your family? What is her role in the greatness of your family? Because she was there.
My mother was a stay-at-home.
Right.
She was a stay-at-home mom.
Think about that. That job, stay-at-home mom, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The key about the stay-at-home mom, they never get a break.
They don't.
They're working constantly. It's the toughest job, I think, on the face of the earth. They don't get paid overtime.
I agree. You know, my wife, Lisa, she's a stay-at-home mom.
That's a tough job.
And I come home and I'm sometimes I just look at her and I'm like, wow, you had a rougher day than I did.
And most likely she did.
You know, but my mom, she dedicated everything. Her career aspirations, her education put on hold. Everything was on hold.
For the kids,
for the
kids.
kids.
The family.
It was all for the kids.
Wow.
You know.
You have to honor her for that.
We do.
Yes.
And I remember every day, there were 4 of us, 3 boys, 1 girl.
Right.
Very routine. We were in every sport. And we were always in honors or gate programs.
Yes.
Because she was the one pushing.
Yes.
You know, and if we messed up, we didn't want to get in trouble from our dad. So that was the other thing. You had that reinforcer.
Right. Exactly. I like that. The reinforcer. Mr. Contreras. Right.
You know, so she was always there. You know, and to this day, she remains proud of everything we've done and what we continue to do.
Of course. You know, when you look at your life, you know, looking at your wonderful parents, your mom and your dad, who would you say overall are your biggest heroes and inspirations?
My biggest hero and inspiration, I didn't get the privilege to meet him, but it was my grandfather.
Yes.
And he passed away right before I was born. And he wanted more than anything to see me. And I didn't come out early enough. I actually came out late.
Right.
And all I could hear was how amazing he was. He was...
what was his name?
His name was Rudy Contreras.
Yes.
And that's actually my middle name. It's a very odd name.
It's a beautiful name.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
it's different.
Very different.
It's a very different name.
That's a good thing.
But he was an inventor.
Right.
And he invented and he created, and it was without an education.
Right.
He just had it, the tinkering.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and it's so interesting because all of us, we have something in us of creating, whether it's with our hands or with our minds.
Right.
But we want to create.
Right.
And
just think about it. You're like him in so many ways because you are an out-of-the-box thinker. You are someone who will take the front end and not be the one that has to be at the back following. You're someone who feels comfortable as the lead. You know, you don't have to be pushed. You're a self-motivator. So I mean, you got to thank your grandfather, your mom, your dad. They gave you so many gifts, as well as to your brothers and your sister.
No, and I know my personality, and even when I look at the organization, and I look at the team, every person at SCRS has the exact same personality. They're not the employees that you have to push.
Right.
They're the employees that I sometimes have to pull back because they're just so far ahead of it.
Right.
And it's a blessing to have that
Yes,
team.
it is. Yes, it is.
So,
to have a team that you can work with, that you respect, they respect you, and they have the same work ethic, and they're authentic, and they're honest, and they're good people, and loving and kind, that's a blessing. Because it just takes one person on the team to make everybody else miserable. Just one.
They say one bad apple
Spoils everything.
the bunch.
Exactly right. Where do you see this organization in 5 years from now? What is your vision for Southern California Resource Center for Independent Living in 5 years?
So I see my STEM program launching and changing, not California, but changing the United States.
Yes.
This is one of the programs that I've been working on. I can talk about that.
I want to hear about it.
So
yes.
It's science, technology, engineering, and math. STEM is what they do with the school districts. So we've partnered up with the Columbia Memorial Space Center in the city of Downey. That was where NASA was born.
Yes, it was.
And we partnered with them, and we're developing a STEM program specifically for people with disabilities. Within this STEM program, we're having a robotics program. Right. So what our youth are going to do, we're going to pilot this program in November. 30 individuals will be selected, 30 youth with disabilities. Right. And their first project is to design and manufacture a Braille printer.
But they're going to do it.
And once they do it, they're going to give it to people that are blind for free.
They're going to do it.
Because these are machines that cost currently about $3,500 to $4,500 a piece. And the general population cannot afford that.
Of course not. Right.
So what they do is they have to depend on centers to print their needs. Right. When what we're doing is we're providing them with the tools at an affordable rate, which is free. Can't get more affordable than that.
No, you can't.
They may have to pay for their paper.
All right.
But you know what?
All right. If the printer is free.
The printer is free. Right. And that will be the first project.
Right.
And from there, we'll develop more and more and more.
I think it's just great to hear your, I'm talking today, Mr. Rudy Contreras with Southern California Southern California Resource Center for Independent Living. And I think it's great to talk to someone who is so committed to making a difference, as he said earlier, to being a difference, not just trying to make a difference, but being a difference. So there's so much power in what you shared today. It just inspires me to do more and to be more.
Thank you.
I really, really mean that. Now, tell me this. What is your normal day like when you go to the office? What is that like for you? Because I'm sure every day is pretty different.
Every day is different, and some days I can't even make it to my office because I'm going out to meet other people, make more partners, and spread
the word.
Spread the word. That's really what my role is.
Right.
But I am probably the most accessible executive director I have ever known in any organization. My door is open nonstop, and if it's closed, people still open it to come in and just talk. And I actually enjoy it.
Yes.
But my day, it's always full, and I know that I have a list of things to do every day, but I know that it's never going to be done.
Right.
So I just look at the key areas and say, okay, these have to get done.
Right.
And the rest will happen tomorrow.
Right.
And I try to stress that also with a lot of employees saying, look, if you don't finish this by today, our organization isn't going to close after 37 years.
Of course, not at all.
It's going to be here tomorrow.
Right.
So just, do what needs to be done, but don't lose that passion and heart to do it.
That's true. That's true. I also want to talk about the Pride Parade, the Disability Pride Parade. Tell us about that, and also, what's the website? They want to contact you for like a speaking engagement or for a donation. Give us some information.
So it's interesting how the first ever Disability Pride Parade in Southern California happened. In February of 2016, I took part in the Black History Parade in Pasadena.
Yes.
And I remember marching down Fair Oaks. And first I was in a car, and then I got off to walk. And
yes.
That was a long walk.
Right.
And I was in boots. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But, back to the story. So we're walking down, and it was just people. We're just so supportive on the side.
Right.
And it didn't matter their race, color, gender, preference, anything.
Right.
They were there for the same reason.
Of course.
That they supported the Black History Month.
Exactly.
The Black History Parade.
Yes.
And I came back and I spoke with one of our managers, Hector Ochoa, and I asked him, do we have one?
Right.
And what? A parade for people with disabilities.
Right.
He said, well, we've had the ADA parade. I said, yeah, but that's a parade that celebrates a law.
Right.
Where there's laws being passed every day, and we don't have a parade for all of them.
This is true.
But do we have a parade of empowerment for
right.
people?
Right.
And Hector had told me there was a parade done in Chicago called the Disability Pride Parade.
Right.
And they said it was something big. I said, well, let's do it.
Right.
So once I said, let's do it, Hector said yes. And it was one of the biggest, greatest mistakes we ever did because we've never done a parade.
Right,
how do you do one?
Yeah, how do you get the permits? How do you schedule a date?
Exactly.
Right. It's a lot. Traffic control in California. Come on now.
You have to have police and
absolutely security,
trucks blocking the streets,
yes.
It's a lot. You even have to have permits for everything.
Right. Now, when is it scheduled?
So our first annual Disability Pride Parade will be scheduled for Sunday, October 9th.
Great. From
11 to 3 p.m.
We intend to be there, we intend to be there.
March with us. March by our sides.
We intend to be there.
That's amazing.
Right.
That's definitely, I'm excited.
Absolutely. We're going to be there. It's important that we recognize your organization, number one, but also to be the first participants in such a groundbreaking movement like this. I have to be a part of it. And I'm grateful that we can do something.
No, thank you. For individuals that are still interested in possibly sponsoring the event, you would go to www.disabilitypridela.com, and there is a sponsorship opportunity there. For general donations, you can go to www.SCRS-ILC.org and click on the link to donate.
What about, is there a phone number if someone can contact you directly? Is there an office number that you can give?
Yeah, so for our Downey office, the number is 562-862-6531. Just ask for Rudy. If I'm not in the Downey office, I will be in Alhambra, 626-587-5010. If you're interested in donating, interested in volunteering, Keith Miller, Mario Galdamez, Hector Ochoa, any one of them can help you.
Absolutely. Well, this was just a very enlightening, wonderful interview with Mr. Contreras. So I want to say today I'm going to be giving a donation of $1,500 to the Southern California Services for. You say this right again. Southern California Resource Service for Independent Living. I'll be giving my $1,500. So it's just a little bit, but it's something to make a difference. So I want to thank you.
That makes all the world of a difference. It really does.
Looking forward to making a difference with your organization. And our platform is always here available to talk about anything that you like that you guys are doing in the community. Let Janet know, let me know, and we will definitely discuss it here. You always have a home here, and I mean that sincerely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Well, this is Dr. Levi with your show, The Dr. Levi Show. A wonderful interview with Mr. Rudy Contreras. And I want to say this properly. This is Southern California Resource Services for Independent Living. Please go to their website and go to their secured site and donate. Be a part of the Pride Parade on October 9th. It'll be fantastic. I intend to be there. Janet and I will be there. Hopefully we can get Jarvis, our engineer, to come out. He's so busy. He's such a busy Don Juan. We don't know, but we'll try to get him out. So I want to thank you all for being a part of our show. Remember, be kind to the veterans. Those men and women are the true heroes of America. And be kind to your pets. So this is Dr. Levi. See you back next week. Thanks for joining me on my YouTube channel. You know that we're on iHeartRadio now also. And our show is about making a difference in the community and about giving you the best in knowledge and information as well as inspiration and aspiration. So this is Dr. Levi Harrison. Have a great, great week. Bye.